Okay, welcome to tutorial number 4 of my dog's age in human years. At this point, we're going to go for it and we're going to try to make this chart a lot more accurate, or make our program a lot more accurate to this chart, I should say. Because as we know, our current way of multiplying by 7 doesn't really work for a lot of these age groups, and it doesn't take in the type of breed of the dog too. So let's go back to our code now, and we're going to go ahead and try to make it more accurate by using a whole bunch of if statements instead of just a simple calculation of multiplying by 7. First thing you're going to want to do, if you never take any other advice from me, take this advice. Before you mess with something that's working pretty well, do a file, go to the drop down menu, go to save as, and call this something different. So I might call my dog's age advanced version or something like that. Basically what this is going to do is make a totally different copy of this. That way, if I have any issues, I still have my old copy I can go back to. If I can't quite complete this one, then at least I have my old one I can hand in. Anytime you code, have multiple versions of what you're working on so that you can go back to previous versions if necessary. The save command is nice, but at least once at the end of every period, you should also do save as and call it something totally different. Okay, let's go to our code now, and as long as you've saved a backup version like I just showed you, you are ready to alter this code altogether. So we're actually going to make major changes. We still want the first basic 6 lines of code. But everything else is going to go. So you can leave the end squiggly. That's going to be for the end of our function. I'm just going to bump it down a lot so I don't accidentally delete it. It's way down on line 20 right now. And again, this squiggly is the one that matches with this one to tell it what's part of the function dog to human age. I'm also still going to want the age in human years and the age of dog, but I'm not going to want any of these calculations or anything like that anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and be very careful about what I delete here, because we're still going to want the stuff at the end that says how old the dog is. So let's just kind of bump that down too for now, because we might end up using that. Really, it's this part here. If I kind of separate it, you can see the old way that we used to calculate is not going to be useful to us anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and take those 2 lines, the comment that described what it is, and also the mathematical formula that we use there, and I'm just going to get rid of that. Delete, backspace, whatever you want. So we knew that didn't work for the chart that we were trying to get accurate, so instead what we're going to do is we're going to make a bunch of if statements that look to see what the age of the dog actually is. And we also have to prompt the person to tell us what breed it is, because that's another factor. So let's make another variable on line 7. Variable breed size is going to be equal to prompt. And we're going to prompt the person to press 1 for a small dog, 2 for a medium dog, and let's put or 3 for a large breed dog. Okay, so that's all we've done so far. Is we're actually asking the person for 2 things instead of 1. Before we didn't care about what the size of the breed was, and now we do. I can just test this to see if it's still working so far. How old is your dog? Okay, let's say 10. And then, as you can see, that didn't come up. So, question is, why did that prompt not work? I like to show when errors happen so that we can actually try to investigate why that's happening. It did not ask for the breed size, so we're going to take a look at that. Run it again. Dog's age calculator. The dog is 10, and now it comes up. So you can see that it was looking for a semicolon at the end of that line, and now it's asking for what the breed size is of the dog. So I could say 2 for medium. That's not actually going to do anything yet, but I needed to add a semicolon there to make that work. I believe there could be a semicolon here too, and wouldn't it hurt things? Let's take a look if I'm right. Dog's age calculator, yeah. So for some reason, the computer was able to run line 6 without the semicolon, but it wanted it for line 7 code, so That's kind of interesting, but we take a look at that, and now I'm going to try number 3 for the large breed, and so far, so good. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put in a whole bunch of if statements that are going to use that information that we just collected from the user. I might just actually test to make sure breed side is working here. If I took, for example, a console log command like this, and let me just go ahead and copy and paste that here on line 8 for a second. Let's say I just console log the breed size just for a minute, add my semicolon, and I'm going to clear my console, and I'm going to run that code again, and I'm going to click on the dog's age calculator. How old is your dog? 10, breed size 1. Okay, so we can see that that is being stored correctly in the console as a 1, because that's what that is outputting. Okay, we can also see that our dog calculator is no longer working. That makes sense though, because we deleted the code that made it do the calculation of multiplying by 7. So I can get rid of this line now. I just wanted to make sure that the variable was working and prompting the user for the breed size. So I'm going to delete line 8. Okay, now we're going to start our if statements. And if we look back at the chart, the first let's say 5 years, it really doesn't matter what the breed side is because the numbers are all the same no matter what. And then after, from 6 years up, it really does change. So the if statements are going to be a little bit different for the first so many years, the first 5 years, and then it's going to look different for the rest of the time. So let's go ahead. If dog, open bracket, dog years is equal to, if age of dog is equal to 1, and notice the double equal sign there. You can put a space like this to make it look nicer. So if the age of the dog is equal to 1, then we're going to open our brackets, and you can see we've got a open squiggly and a closed squiggly to work with. Just going to enter that down. So if the age of the dog is equal to 1, then the age in human years is going to be equal to, let's take a look at our chart. So if it's equal to 1, the age is going to be 15 across the board, no matter what the breed is. So we're going to put in 15 there and our semicolon. Okay. So there we go. We've got the open squiggly and the closed, and that's going to be the only if statement needed there. We're going to actually test that out before we go any further because we want to make sure that this is working. So if we press play right now and we do the dog's age calculator, if the dog is 1 year old, and let's say it's a small dog, then your dog is 15 years old. So far so good. We've tested that out. We can see the console's behaving now too and saying 15 years old there as well. Now the nice thing about this, we've got 16 possibilities of the age of the dog, and we're going to go ahead and need 16 different possible ifs to check this out. We can make it a little bit easier by copying and pasting. So if I just took the first if statement and I did a Control-C on that, I could go ahead and paste it like so. You can also notice the indent here is showing that that's inside of an if statement. Notice that this is actually indented twice because it's part of the function and it's also part of the if statement. If I want to connect all of these, which I think I will for my code, I'm going to use an else if instead of an if. And that's just kind of like a cleaner way to make this happen. So else if age of dog is equal to 2, then I'm going to check out to see what the answer would be now on the chart. If it's 2, then it should be 24. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 24. Okay. Now we know the next 3 are all going to only have one possibility. They don't depend on the breed of the dog. So let's go ahead and copy that. Control-C, Control-V. That's a 3rd time, that's a 4th time, and that's a 5th time. So we now have 5 kind of if conditions that we're checking. And we just have to change the age of the dog from 3 for that one, 4 for that one, and 5 for that one. We also have to change the values. So let me just double check on the chart what that was. I believe it was, if they're 3, then it's going to be a 28. This is coming from the chart. And if it's a 4, they're going to be a 32. And if it's a 5, they're going to be 36. And remember, that's the last time it's consistent, where it doesn't matter on the breed size. It only matters on whether or not what age they are. Okay, after this, I can go ahead and paste in another one if I want for the age of, there we go, for the age of 6. But now we have more things to factor in, not just the age of the dog, but also the breed of the dog. So we're going to get a little bit more complicated here. We're just going to have one if statement that's inside of another if statement. And again, this is only kind of complicated once, and then we can copy and paste this the rest of the time, the whole way through. So else if age of dog is equal to 6, we want another if statement in here. So if, okay, the breed size, and again we can go ahead and click on it there, is equals to 1, then this is going to have a certain condition. Open squiggly. Okay. If it's equal to 1, what does that mean? It means that it's going to have, the age in human years is going to be something specific, right? But there's a possibility that it's not equal to 1. So let's go ahead and do an else if in line with that. So else if breed size is equal to 2, which means it's a medium-sized dog, it's going to have another possibility. Notice all of these are going to need an open and a closed squiggly bracket. So this if needs a closed. Right now it doesn't have one. This else if is going to need one. Okay, so all of this stuff factors in here. So if it's equal to 2, it's going to have a certain possibility. And let's pull this over a little bit. Okay. And we could just do an else for the last one, because that means the breed size is clearly 3. And so the age in human years is going to be equal to something else. Okay, so a little bit more complex, because we have one if statement of if the dog is 6, but then it breaks it down into 3 more possibilities. Now we have to look at the chart to see what those possibilities are. It looks to me like it's 40, 42, and 45. So we'll go back to our code and we'll put that in. 40, 42, and 45. Okay, so if I take that now and I run this code, we will see if there's any problems or anything. I'm just going to go ahead and press play. So far the website's working, and we've got some kind of error. Okay, so this is what I want you to see, that bugs are gonna creep in when you code, and usually it's a matter of a missing semicolon or a missing squiggly bracket. I think I've spotted it already. I've got an else if here for the age of dog being 6, and I've got an open squiggly, but I don't have a closed squiggly, because remember, this one goes with this bracket here. That goes with that else. It doesn't go with this one. Okay, so I just need to go ahead and make another one on the next line. There's another closed one there. So now you can see that this whole thing is closed off. So I'm going to try to run that again, see if that was the bug that was preventing it from running. By the way, I noticed the bug when I looked down here. It said reference error, dog to human age is not defined. So that's what came from the missing squiggly bracket there. You're going to have a lot of brackets by the time you're done this. So how old is the dog? Let's go ahead and type in 10 again. What is oh, actually, I don't want to do 10 because I haven't even coded till 10. So let's cancel that. Let's run that again. I've only coded to 6. So let's test out a couple of them. First of all, if the dog is 4, and it doesn't really matter what the breed size is, it's 32. That looks good from this part of code. And now let's test out the 6. So if I take that again, how old is your dog? This time I'm going to say 6. Now the breed's going to matter. So let's say that it's a large breed dog. If I do a 3 on that, it works out to 45. Okay, so it seems to be working. Let's try it one more time with the 6 medium breed. How old is your dog? 6. What is the breed? Medium, number 2, and 42 years old. So this seems to be working now, and I'm making progress with my code for sure. And by the end of this should be a very accurate calculator that somebody could use to figure out the age of their dog. So rather than spend a whole lot of time doing this all the way to 16, I'm going to leave you here today with a hint of how to get there, how to get to the finish line. We know that the whole rest of it, all the way from 7 to 16, is going to look like this, right? Because every single one of those on the chart, whether you go from 7, 8, 9, they all have different possibilities depending on the breed size. So it makes sense that the whole rest of our code is going to basically look like this, and we're going to copy it, and we're going to go underneath, and we're going to paste. And we're going to go, so that would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We got now 143 lines of code, and all we have to do now is fill in the missing numbers. So I'd go back to the 6, just kind of show you what the next step would be, and then I'll leave you with that to do on your own. Okay, so it looks like the age 6 was here. So this would be age 7 down here. And I'm going to change that to a 7. I don't have to change any of the other ifs. That's great. All I'm changing now is the numbers. So the 7-year-old dog, depending on the breed size, is 44, 47, or 50. So I'm going to go down again, and I'm going to change the output results 44, 47, or 50. Okay, and then I would change this to 8. I would change the next one to 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, for all the possibilities of what the dog could be. So it looks like a lot of work, but thanks to copy and paste, it wasn't that bad, and it won't take that long to just adjust a few numbers along the way. For the sake of the tutorial, I don't think you need to see me do that. Basically, once you have this working and you copy and paste it forward, then it's going to work from there on out. Remember, every time you do something good, hit the save button here. And congratulations if you were able to do this, because this is probably your first ever full application. Over 100 lines of code, and does something pretty interesting. So I hope you enjoyed making this project. I'll leave you with some ways to consider getting an even higher mark if you want to try some different things out. For example, considering things like data entry. What if somebody puts in the wrong number? Is there something you could do to let them know? So when you're prompting them for like the small dog, the medium, or the large breed dog, what if they type in 4? What happens? Okay, is there something that redirects them? That's something to think about for extra credit. Don't forget as well, you always get more credit by just simply commenting your code. So especially the first time you have something like this going on, this should really have the double / and the description of what you're doing with those if statements. So checking data validation it's called, to see if people are putting in the right information. And secondly, comments are all things that are going to help you raise your mark to that level 4 status. As always, if you have any questions, you can comment or you can send me messages and I will help you, or ask me in class. Hope you enjoyed this final tutorial on what my dog's age is in human years. Talk to you later. Bye now.